about the last time someone told you a little white lie? Maybe it was a friend insisting they absolutely loved that terrible birthday gift you bought them, or a coworker claiming they definitely didn't eat your lunch. We've all been there, right? But what if I told you that you might actually be able to spot the biological signs of deception within just a few seconds of interacting with someone? I know, it sounds a bit like a superpower or something pulled straight out of a spy thriller. But the fascinating reality is that even the world's absolute best, most practiced liars can physically slip up in a matter of seconds. Today, we're going to unpack exactly how and why that happens in this explainer and what it really reveals about us.
Okay, let's dive into this. Can you spot a liar in seconds? I mean, most of us like to think we can. We assume we've got this highly tuned radar, this great gut feeling about people's intentions. But let's be totally honest here. Half the time, that gut feeling is just yesterday's lunch disagreeing with us, or it's a byproduct of our own personal biases. Spotting deception right off the bat isn't about some magical intuition at all. It's about observable, scientifically grounded reactions. To truly get this, we've got to bypass the gut entirely and start at the very source of the lie itself.
Section 1. The Brain on Lies. The Cognitive Conflict. To put this into perspective, at any given moment, your brain processes thousands of pieces of information every single second. Just to exist in a room, your brain is working incredibly hard. It's regulating your body temperature, keeping your posture upright so you don't just fall over, processing the subtle hum of the AC in the background, and interpreting all the visual data around you. It is an absolute powerhouse of a biological machine. But it's already heavily burdened just keeping you alive and aware. It definitely has its limits. So introducing a lie into this system, well, it's kind of like opening 50 heavy applications on an already overworked computer. See, when you're a truth teller, telling a story is relatively easy. Let's say you're just recalling what you ate for breakfast. Your words and your body language match completely naturally. You don't really have to consciously think about what your hands are doing or where your eyes are looking, because your memory is real. It's just an automatic retrieval. But when someone lies, say fabricating some elaborate weekend trip that never actually happened, their brain is suddenly forced into this massive undertaking. It has to create and then actively maintain a completely false story, literally fact-checking itself in real time. Psychologists call this a high cognitive load. The brain is juggling reality and fiction simultaneously. And because of that immense mental pressure, the system starts to glitch, and subtle behavioral clues begin to leak out into the physical world. Moving on to Section 2, Spotting Behavioral Clues, the Tangible Evidence. Now, there's a really fascinating paradox in how people react under the immense pressure of lying. According to psychologists, some people completely avoid eye contact when they're being deceptive. They look down or turn away simply because that cognitive load we just talked about is just too high. Their brain literally cannot afford the extra processing power required to look at and analyze another person's face while maintaining a fixed story. But then, others do the exact opposite. They overcompensate with unusually intense, almost unblinking eye contact. They're consciously thinking, okay, a truthful person looks someone in the eye, so I'm going to stare them down to appear trustworthy. It's a fascinating split in human behavior, and it proves that deception doesn't trigger just a simple one-size-fits-all reaction. Another incredibly fascinating biological clue is something called a microexpression. These are tiny, involuntary facial expressions that pop up for only a fraction of a second. Imagine someone is hiding deep fear, but they're trying their hardest to smile. For a millisecond, a flash of absolute, undeniable terror will stretch across their face before it quickly settles back into that forced, calm smile. It's quite literally a biological race against time inside the brain. The genuine underlying emotion actually travels faster through our neural pathways, escaping and flashing across the face just before the conscious thinking part of the brain can catch up and slap a mask over it. It is the absolute truth slipping out before the lie can fully cover its tracks. Which brings us to Section 3, the myth of one clue, debunking assumptions. Okay, before you go out and start accusing everyone who blinks fast or looks away of lying to you, we need to set the record straight. No single behavior definitively proves that someone is deceiving you. Relying on a single, cartoonish tell to label someone a liar is a pretty dangerous misconception. The reality is that stress, anxiety, fear, and nervousness, which are completely normal everyday emotions, can produce the exact same physical behaviors as lying. So someone might be breaking eye contact or fidgeting simply because they're incredibly nervous to be speaking with you, or they're anxious about the topic of conversation, not because they're spinning a web of lies. If you actually want to observe behavior accurately, you have to approach it like a trained professional. And professionals, they look for patterns, not just one isolated clue. The real key here is a concept called baselining. When an investigator talks to someone, they don't jump right into the hard questions. They start by asking normal, easy questions, like what the weather is like or how their drive into the office was. They do this to establish a baseline of how that specific person behaves when they're completely relaxed and truthful. Only after establishing that baseline do they start looking for deviations. They seek out clusters of stress signals, maybe a sudden shift in posture combined with a microexpression and a change in vocal pitch that happen exactly when a difficult topic is brought up.
Section 4. Why this matters. The true purpose.
So, what does this all mean for us? The true goal of spotting these behavioral clues isn't to play amateur detective or aggressively trap the people in your life in a lie. Actually, it's to actively improve our everyday interactions and build deeper understanding. Imagine you're in a meeting and you notice your colleague suddenly showing a cluster of those stress signals we just talked about. By recognizing this, it helps you communicate better. Instead of pushing harder or just making assumptions, you can pause and ask smarter, more compassionate questions to figure out what's really bothering them. Ultimately, reading these subtle shifts in behavior helps us make much more informed, empathetic decisions in both our professional and personal relationships. It really all comes down to a core philosophy. Psychology teaches us that evidence matters more than assumptions. We have to actively train ourselves to move past those snap judgments, our gut feelings, and our biased assumptions. By slowing down and relying on the actual, observable evidence of human behavior, we become not just better observers, but fairer, more perceptive people. When you step back and think about everything we've covered in this explainer today, the human mind remains one of the greatest mysteries in the entire world. The majesty and the sheer complexity of the brain, how it protects itself, how it manages an immense cognitive load, and how it struggles to balance truth and fiction is simply awe-inspiring. By understanding these mechanics, we aren't just learning how to spot a lie. We're learning about the incredible vulnerabilities and the mental gymnastics that every single one of us experiences. And the more we strive to understand how the mind works behind the scenes, the deeper empathy we can afford each other in our daily interactions. And the more we strive to understand how the mind works behind the scenes, the deeper empathy we can afford each other in our daily interactions. So the next time you're in a conversation, ask yourself, how will understanding the mind change the way you see the people around you? Thank you so much for joining me today. If you loved exploring this topic, make sure to follow for more explainers diving deep into the real mysteries of psychology, history, and the human experience. Keep observing, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.